All right, it's media day, and we are talking non-5A Division One. We are joined by Waltrip head coach Jeremy Kirt. Coach, obviously last year Galveston ball was playing on a different level, but if you think about it, you guys were playing on a pretty good level yourselves. I mean, it's not like you were no slouch in that district. You took care of business. The Sterling game was a little closer than you might have liked, but everything else you kind of handled. Talk about your thoughts of the new district last year, which will be an old district now because you're used to it, but how things played out for you and how you felt your team did last year.
Well, just first and foremost, it was just, we had been in a tough district for 2 years, so I was happy to get back with familiar people, people that have the same resources with us, same number of kids, and things of that nature. Fort Bend Marshall, man, they're tough. They're a tough deal for anybody. As we see right now, they just almost broke the national record in the 4x1. So I'm pretty delighted not to have to play those guys again. And then just the new district, it was just good to get back together and with pretty much an all HISD district, obviously with Galveston ball added in there to it. So it was just good to get back into that district where we all can be around each other and playing each other again. And as far as our outcomes last year, I thought no matter what district we was in last year, I thought that it would have been year 3 for me with having 22 seniors. And like I said, them kind of knowing how I am and how we do things here now under the new regime, that I thought we could have a chance to be good. If you would ask me, would we be 8-3 and finish the year the way we did? I would probably tell you that that would have been a great year for us. Maybe not what I expected. I don't never really cast a broad net as far as what I expect in the totality of a season. I talk to my kids about just going 1-0 each week. So that's pretty much how I stay grounded, is not worrying about the whole season in itself, just trying to worry about each week, 1 week at a time.
It's kind of a deal. You talk about year 3, and you hear it in the pros a lot in colleges. Year 3 is really when you start getting year 3 of a program. You start really getting your fundamentals in there, and people know what to expect.
Right.
After a season like 8-3, you got to go into the off season looking back at some of the players that are coming back. It's like, look, this is what we can accomplish, and this is what I want to accomplish every year. And they can now see that the proof is in the pudding. They can see it on the field, and it's produced. Have you noticed maybe more pump to their step there when they're in the weight rooms in the off season because they know what to expect?
Yeah, they got more pep in their step. They kind of know what to expect. And you're getting a little bit more kids that were just wandering the halls that may want to come out now after they seen how good you were. So we're having a little influx in students coming over, coming out actually now. And, I just tell them, every year we have a little mantra, and this year is defend the standard. What we did last year that should be the standard. So, we're not looking back. We're going forward. Again, we had 22 solid, strong seniors, like I tell anybody. And so we have big shoes to fill. We're not going to have as big and as in numbers of a senior class coming up. So that's a positive to me too, because then hopefully we can sustain it for year after year after year with these upcoming juniors and seniors to be.
The young bucks coming in. We know Crawford's he's graduated. That was one of the co-district MVPs. But I want to talk about how much of a luxury it is to have two-way players like Drake Williams and Jalen Middleton that are not only two-way players, but they're solid. They're both the first team district in both positions. I guess one was the second team all district, but just talk about knowing that you can hand it. Hey, this is an athlete that I can depend on there for God knows how many plays, 70, 80 plays out there.
Yeah, man, it's a great thing to have. Obviously, you would like to have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 of those guys so that you don't have to do that. But it is a great thing to have. And, one thing I did pride myself on when I got here is that I was going to play kids. I was going to play the best kids regardless, whether I had to change my regimen, how I practice, and, extra conditioning, and then stand late in conditioning. And then we had to kind of change when we lift weights just so our kids, get used to it. I will tell you this. I started in Anahuac, Texas, my first job. And so I tell anybody, going to 2A and seeing how those guys go 2 platoon and go both ways all the time, it kind of set me up to be able to do it anywhere that I go. And so, just having that background and doing it, setting the standard as soon as I got here, saying the best 11 kids are going to play offense, defense, and special teams, it just kind of made it that much easier for them guys to buy in. And it just so happened that I had a pretty good athlete doing it. And so hopefully we can get more of those kids on the field and playing.
And then if you look at the games, it's not like you were killing them. There's a lot of these games that got a little bit out of hand. I'm sure you didn't play them both ways all the time, but let's talk about this team and what you're looking to step up as far as leadership in 2023. You know, everybody graduates players, but so you're probably looking at certain positions where you need somebody to step up. What are those positions, and what do you hope to see?
The positions for us really offensive line. Pretty much besides one kid, Isaiah Montez, all of my offensive linemen are graduating. The offensive line is, for me, everything starts up front. The way I play football, the way I believe coaching football, the D line and the offensive lines are always going to be key for me. And we don't return any returning defensive lineman. We return one, Jesus Lopez, who played a lot, but he was not a down in and down out starter. And then we return Isaiah Montez. So just one on both offensive lines and defensive lines. And the good thing is, for here at Waltrip, we had 3 teams last year. So all of my kids that are going to play got game experience by playing on junior varsity. And then some games where the teams maybe only had one varsity team altogether in their program, we brought them up and let them get some playing experience. So the offensive line and defensive lines are always going to be where it starts. We got question marks at quarterback as well. We had Alberto Ramirez, who came over to help us a little bit with baseball. And then obviously we had Sean Crawford. And both of those guys, Alberto Ramirez might focus solely on baseball coming up the next year. So, you know, I'm not solid on what the quarterback position is going to look like. And, of course, the offensive line and defensive line. As far as offense and defensive skill, we have quite a few of those guys coming back with experience. So I'm going to look for them to take on leadership roles to kind of get us going early so we can help those young kids come along.
I guess finally you talked about the district and how, you know, you're happy to be away from Marshall. Most teams are because of the athletes they got over there. But there's that new team there that's been you know, they only gave up 7 points in district play last year, Galveston Ball. What's it going to take? I know they lose one of the Williams brothers, but what's it going to take to kind of take a piece out of them and maybe knock them down a notch?
You know, like I said, the offensive line and defensive lines. When you look at the games with them, you know, they have the big time receiver, quarterback, and they had 2 running backs. You know, but it's really one up front. You know, I played Dayton early on. You know, when you go to play those teams that are kind of one-horse townish, you know, they have the linemen that's all they're due, you know. And so that's where the game is won or lost. I think Madison, I think Sterling, you know, all those teams, you know, they're not very far off from what we used to face in Fort Bend Marshall as far as general skill, you know, and speed. You know, we were just at the area track meeting. Sterling is in the top. They one relay away from, you know, being in the thick of the things with Fort Bend Marshall. And so I just really think, again, the games are won and lost with the offensive and defensive line. And until we can get those kids to be eating the right way, lifting and strong as those guys that we're going to play, and then just getting the numbers up in your program where, you know, Drake Williams and Jalen Middleton may not have to go both ways the entire time, then you're going to gain the level playing field with those guys. But make no bets about it. You know, we're going to be prepared and we're going to go in there and try to go 1-0 that week, just like it was we're going any other week. I make no bones about it. I'm not making any excuses. My team is going to be geared up and ready to go, as they were this year. So, you know, I don't shy away from it at all.
That's awesome. That's what I like to hear. And I know we're 4 months away, but I'm glad we're, you know, it's Texas. You got to talk football 24/7. So I appreciate you joining me, and we'll see you come August.
Appreciate you. Go Rams.